Yeah, okay. And welcome to the Inside Running Podcast, Shoe Geeks edition for February. I'm joined by my co-hosts, Julian Spence, the running company Geelong. How are you going, mate?
Good. How are you going?
Good. You've had a bit of a trim, a bit of a shave down.
Yeah, what do you reckon?
I don't mind it, actually. I like it.
Reckon I look younger?
I don't know about younger, but definitely a little bit more professional, I reckon. Not trying to be so young, I reckon.
Maybe tougher.
Tougher, yeah. And Tom DeCanto over in Sydney.
How you going?
Good, mate. How are you? You in the new pad at home or are you at work? Looks like the new pad.
I'm at home. I'm at home today.
Look, I haven't spoke to you guys for about 8 weeks and you're both in very good shape. A lot has happened since we've chatted.
Yeah. Yeah, that wasn't to be expected, was it?
No, you're both going really well. Everyone's sort of surprised how fit Tom gets. So I don't know, because he puts half his stuff up on Strava. Well, you're back doing some running. Do you want to kick off, Tom, what you've been doing the past couple of months, what you're training for and what you've been wearing and how'd you go in the 5K, etc.? What shoes did you wear?
So yeah, I've just been building back gradually and biding my time to think about locking in a marathon. I ended up locking in Hamburg in April. So that's the main short-term goal. I'm just trying to get fit for that. I ran Sun Run a couple of weeks ago, which was fun, 10K, hilly 10K, and 5K on track. So whipped out the Vaporflies for a hilly road race, 10K. And I was in Dragonflies for the 5K track.
I saw you still wearing the Vaporfly 1 in your races on the road.
Yeah, it's my favorite. So I have some life left in a couple. So it's
What's
still
different?
It's slightly softer and it just feels slightly bouncier. I think we've talked about it. Like I just feel like V1 is a little bit softer and has so it sort of compresses a little bit more and then it gives back a little bit more as well. Whereas the V2 felt just didn't compress as much, and so then didn't sort of feel like it bounced back quite as much. But I just saw that V3 Vaporfly Next Percent 3 is coming out in a few weeks, 2 weeks maybe. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, I think April for Australia.
April for Australia.
Oh, April. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So what have you been wearing, Tom? We got heaps of shoes here, and I know you've got at least half of them. So
So I thought it was time to confess that I've gone back to my minimal type ways. So
how minimal?
How
minimal?
I know.
What are you wearing?
Not crazy minimal, but I've been doing a lot of mileage in the Rebel V3 and the Nike Streak Fly.
Very interesting.
Tom. The Streak Fly, I gave the Streak Fly a bad rap. Like, what was that like in December when we chatted last? Because I said it was a bomb. It was a failed attempt at a race shoe, but I'm actually enjoying it as a short, easy day shoe.
Wow.
Yeah,
there's a lot of Gary Howard in that comment. There's a lot of Gary Howard influence there. Well, so yeah, that's true. Do you see? I put a photo up on Instagram the other day, just of like the shoes I have at my doorstep that I've been wearing for the past month or so, and I had a lot of comments on that. And it was like the Minimalist, the Supercomp, the Bondi, and the only person that commented said it looked a bit like their shoe collection was Moose Wife Bree. Said that looks a lot like my shoe collection right now. And,
why do we must be us old folk? Not sure how Tom gets away with it because he's old and beat as well.
How do you get away with it, Tom? What do you reckon the secret is?
I don't know. Maybe the shoes I used to wear like growing up doing all my running, like I guess the first 10 years of my running were in like DS trainers. So from Asics, they were a relatively minimal shoe. Did a lot of like races and running in like the hyperspeed from Asics, and I don't know. I just feel like maybe I've just my body. I just feel I kind of like the feeling of a bit more flexibility in the shoe and just enough cushion that feels forgiving but doesn't feel clunky. I'm just finding like a lot of the high stack ones, they just feel clunky on my feet. And I have this size 13.
It's got to be a shape thing for you as well, because it's only when you start getting into like, you know, you start seeing snippets of your good shape, you start moving out of your high stackers a bit, and you start.
I think so. Like my body weight's gone down. Like I've probably lost a few kilos, and I definitely gravitate more towards them when I get a bit fitter and lighter.
Yep.
So that's what I'm doing. I'm sort of getting back to those. I use the Rebel for those two shoes. I use for like shorter, easy runs. If I'm going to go longer, I still prefer a bit more shoe. So long runs, I still I'm in like I was using the Asics Super Blast, which I know isn't out yet, but I've been able to get quite a bit of running in that, and I really enjoy that. Apart from recently getting a bit of extensor tendon irritation. I think it's just something to do with that the last eyelet and a fold, a crease that's occurring, and the crease must just be rubbing on my tendon over the big toe.
It's got a bit of a low ceiling, that shoe as well. It's not quite as voluminous, I don't reckon.
Yeah. So otherwise, like that shoe's great long run shoe. Has
that replaced the? You was a Rocket X guy for ages in your long runs. Has that replaced that?
Yeah. It would replace that the Rocket X from Hoka.
What's it weigh? The Super Blast? It's not. Is it heavy?
No, it's light.
No, it's not heavy at all. No, because it's the performance foam. It's the turbo, so it's pretty light. There's no plate as well. It's interesting. Like there's no plate, but it's still got
stiff.
It's got a bit of stiffness to it, and it will just like pop back. Just because of the foam just is resilient, so it just pops back like there would be a plate in there.
How does it get so stiff if the foam's so soft?
I think it's just the stack height. So it's quite a high stack height. So that gives it more stiffness, and then the turbo foam is not as soft as Zoom X. So
it's like that resilient energy return foam. Like it doesn't feel soft underfoot. It doesn't feel mushy. Like I even find like it's not that super mushy, but like your more V4 feels almost too mushy underfoot. And this shoe here, you hit this shoe harder, the Super Blast, it sort of gives you more return back, and it feels soft as the pace gets quicker. I reckon it's been one of the most enjoyable shoes for long runs. It feels better after an hour than it does in the first hour. Whereas I think the Nova 3, which is a good shoe as well, probably lose a bit of life by the end of the long run, I find.
So do you think the Super Blast compares with the Zoom X Invincible?
Zoom X Invincible's a bit mushier, definitely less responsive, and probably heavier as well, I'd say. So probably a bit more of an upbeat shoe, the Super Blast. I reckon you don't wear it for just easy recovery runs. You're wearing it for the purpose of your run being maybe a little bit more dynamic. You can change pace a bit better, and you're going for a longer duration. You might finish up. Like I think it's probably the best long run shoe that I've worn from Asics, full stop. So I'd
use Invincible more like that slower, easy day shoe, a bit like Asics. I think what they've done well now is releasing the new Nimbus 25, which I think fits really well in an Asics rotation, because that's like a more plush type shoe that's not super, doesn't make you feel like you want to run fast in it. So I'd say that's closer probably to the Invincible. I know some people seem to like to go a bit faster in the Invincible. I don't really, although it's got Zoom X, I don't really get those vibes with that shoe when I actually wear it. Because it's heavy, like it does. It's actually quite a bit heavier than you'd think. The Super Blast from Asics, it would definitely be a lot lighter.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Good. What have you been wearing, Nita?
Mate, rotation between a lot of shoes. So the Nimbus 25 is the shoe I've been wearing for a lot of my easy days. We should touch on this one because it's you, Julian, will know there's going to be lots of traditional Asics people that'll move from the Nimbus 24 to the Nimbus 25, and this might be their first introduction to like a high stat compliant foam shoe. And look, it's stable. This will work for a lot of people. There's nothing really wrong with the shoe, I've found, and I've had no complaints with it. The upper's actually really nice. It's got enough volume in the forefoot. The surface area of the shoe makes it really stable, and I reckon if you're probably below 85 kilos or so, the foam's resilient enough as well to keep you stable. I reckon maybe really high body mass issues might have an issue compressing it, falling off the shoe a bit more. But look, this shoe has even a nice little rocker. Like it doesn't make you want to run fast. It's the midsole of the 4-foot Blast Plus is this nice hybrid of a midsole that feels plush underfoot, but doesn't bottom out. There's just enough of it. And I've tried the Cumulus 25 at the same time, which I'm not sure when that's released, Julian, but that shoe doesn't have as much stack height to it. So I find the same midsole as well, same foam, but the geometry of it just means it bottoms out a bit more in the 4-foot. So the Nimbus 25 is probably the best update Asics have done in their main line for a long time, I reckon. So
yeah, I've been using it as well. Just recently, like only maybe 30K or so, maybe a bit more. I agree with what you said. It does feel stable for what it is. And in store, it's one of the first shoes that Asics has had where outside, like a glide ride or something, where you can feel that rocker. And first feel in this shoe blows people away at the moment. The way that the shoe feels soft but gutsy and enough flaring to still feel stable. Like you put an Invincible on, yes, you sink into the part of the shoe where you're putting your weight, whereas in this one, it doesn't feel like you're sinking. So
exactly.
I do have the upper is hot for me. It's a bit too thick. And my foot got really hot in it the other day just because it's not very breathable. That's the only complaint there. Perhaps through the back, it's quite tight in the heel cup as well. You can sort of see. Let me just make it bigger. These nodules are very tight, and they did maybe hug my Achilles a little too strongly for what I liked. But good update.
But look, I know you guys put a bit of media onto this when you went for your long run, Julian, the More V4. Look, I've used it as the same purpose shoe. Like it's been more of a shorter run between 30 to 60 minutes. I've used it a fair bit. It feels stable. It's got a wide surface area. It definitely feels like it's a bit less responsive than the Nimbus. It feels a bit less responsive than all those shoes in that category, I reckon. Maybe just the weight of the shoe probably contributes to that a little bit. But the rocker's nice. It's definitely a runnable shoe. I've got the Bondi, which I've run a couple times next to it. This feels a bit more enjoyable than the Bondi 8. Probably doesn't offload quite as well, but probably a bit easier on when you're feeling pretty good. But the shoe I put the most volume into has been this. I've been using it for like my long runs and pickups, and it's been the Supercomp Elite V3. So they're equivalent to their super shoe, really. Of course, I live in the hills, so the trails I've eaten the shell alive. But look, just for a moment, and Julian will probably appreciate this. Like this shoe feels the same as it did when it was brand new, even though the foam's been eaten alive in the 4-foot. So that's my mistake for wearing it on trails. But the shoe still functions pretty well. Plate stiff, probably not meant to wear it on the trails, but resilient foam. Not a really fast super shoe compared to a really, really responsive shoe. Really plush underfoot. The rocker is a little bit more proximal, so it sort of sits further back. So for a long run shoe, this has probably been ideal. I can run 2 hours in this shoe comfortably, and it's soft underfoot, responsive enough. Not super light. Probably, I don't think my size 10 weighs about 220 grams. I guess it's pretty light, but not in the super shoe category.
It is in the super shoe category. 220. Come on. We got an Alpha Flight 235.
True. But for Tom, that's 300 grams by the time it hits size 13.
Way too heavy.
Way too heavy.
Do you feel like it's stable enough to go and run long runs in?
Look, I do. I'm hitting mainly the 4-foot. I think the surface area of the 4-foot's pretty good, to be honest. It's not as wide as the Supercomp trainer. It's a bit more dynamic than the Supercomp. It doesn't feel too far different from the Supercomp trainer. It just feels a lot lighter. That's the thing, closer to the ground. So when they update the Supercomp trainer, the second version, I hear they cut it down a bit. It's going to feel pretty much like this, I'd assume. So I like it as a long run shoe. I've done it as a bit of a workout shoe. It feels a bit less responsive. I like the workout shoe to be a bit stiffer and a little bit more resilient in the foam. But for trail, I know you've got these, Tom. I don't know if you've worn them in the park yet. This is a Trabuco Max 2. So look, full rubber outsole, really stable. They use the 4-foot Blast Plus, and the outsole combination plus the midsole being a little bit more compliant makes it overall slightly firmer than a road shoe. But geez, this is really fun to run in. It's really stable. It's not super heavy, so maybe 240 grams for this one, maybe 250. The heel count is beautiful. The only downside to this, I definitely had to go up half a size. It just felt tighter at the heel count and the toe box. Obviously, with just a little bit more protection in the toe box, I felt it being a bit short. But
mine was short.
Yeah, but really fun shoe to run in the trails, especially if you've got trails where you've got half road, bit of fire track, and some short trails. Great hybrid. So Trabuco Max 2. I don't know if you guys are getting this in stock at all, Julian, but it's been a bit of a fun shoe in the trail range. So
yeah, it looks good.
I don't want to take up all the time, but I've got another one as well. So go. All right. So it's just been
a while. The man who runs the least mileage has the most shoes.
I'm almost 100 Ks now, but not quite. Ultra. So the luxury of the anatomical fit. This is the Via Olympus. So this is, I guess, their equivalent to the Bondi. Still a zero pitch. You sit within the sidewalls through here. Look, I've only done about 20 Ks in it so far. And look, I'm not quite sure what it's like. The weight of it is quite heavy. So I feel like a lot of the weight's beneath the foot. Like there's not much mass in the upper. The upper's quite good. So refer to it as a bit bottom heavy. The rocker is a bit more minimal. So meaning that you sort of have to work to get over it. Once again, I put a 6mm heel pitch in this. And so unlike some of their other range, I find that maybe the rocker works against me a bit in this shoe. So I'm getting it similar to you, Tom. I've got a bit of forefoot numbness as well. And I'm not sure if that might be the ceiling of the shoe being a little bit low and the stiffness of the forefoot, meaning there's not as much of compliancy. It is a really good offloading shoe. So I've already had patients who've moved into it with midfoot and big toe arthritis who have like that typical broad foot, who have had pain relief as a walking shoe or a jogging shoe. Which makes it a therapeutic or medical prescription shoe that'll go really well. As for a performance shoe, look, I still think it probably would function a bit better with a touch more rocker on it. And maybe with this amount of midsole, maybe just a bit more compliant foam. So a little bit more resilient. That gives a bit more because I found it relatively firm. But look, that's 30 Ks in. I might be telling you a completely different thing when it gets to 90 to 100 Ks. This might be one of those shoes that you have to put a bit more work into. So, but once again, the luxury of the fit being anatomical is still nice. It feels weird every time you put it on when your foot's not touching the walls of the shoe, when you're not used to that for the past 20 years. So
you have a very narrow foot.
Yeah.
So it's actually not as narrow. It's not as wide as your make out, because a lot of people still put that on. And the shoe's not that wide through the mid portion of the shoe.
You're right. So this even that area there isn't super broad. This back through here isn't that broad. But look, the luxury exists just in that big toe area through here. You just don't touch that part of the shoe, which is rare. But look, you're right. I'm quite narrow and I don't feel it through there. But my wife has the hiking version for these, and she still feels a little bit of the side to side pressure in the hiking Olympus. So.
So it's a lot of people do ride Ultra off as just for really wide feet, but we're definitely seeing it come back in line because I put that shoe on and I still feel pressure on the side of my foot just through like the
but that's further back though. You're not feeling it down. You're not feeling the distal toe. You're feeling it further back.
But it can still be a bit of a problem area for some. I'm with you. I think I haven't run in the shoe yet. But I've worked in it and I've walked the dog in it. It's pretty. I like that it's firm. So I like that there's guts. I don't want it too spongy. But I agree. I think it needs a little bit more toe spring.
Yeah, look, I'll come back to that in a couple of months. I reckon it might get a bit more flexible. It might get a bit softer, and maybe the toe spring consequently is a bit better. It's just hard to you've got all these compliant shoes that have a bit more of a rocker to them. They're always a bit easier to get you off your toe. This one here, I feel like I'm just going to work a bit harder to get over the top.
Race shoe, anything?
Mate, I'm running Bathurst this week, like you, but the old man's race is Sunday. I'm going to wear the shoe that you're going to show. I'm going to wear the Endorphin Elite.
All right. Yeah. Well, that's what I'm going to show. So the Endorphin Elite, it has not released yet. It releases Feb 21, so you're going to see it soon enough. This is, Saucony have two super shoes now. They have the Endorphin Pro 3, and then they have the Endorphin Elite, which this one is. And the different, this feels a little more aggressive than Endorphin Pro 3. I like the idea of we'll call it the Pro 3. So the Pro 3 is a little bit more traditional underfoot. It doesn't feel super rocket. It's not super soft. It feels a little bit more like an amazing racing flat, but not a super shoe to me. And I used to love being able to put it on, and it really felt like it helped my turnover a lot. I wasn't spending much time in contact with the ground, and it didn't change my mechanics much. I'd get sore calves after my workout, which for me is a good sign that that I'm running well in the shoe. But it wasn't providing that kind of unloading benefit like some super shoes can. So one of the main differences between the Pro 3 and the Elite is the Pro 3 uses Power Run PB plus, and then the Elite here uses Power Run HG, which is slightly, I think it's the same compound, it's just done differently. So the Elite here uses one big slab of foam, and then the Power Run PB is little beads of foam that are all packed together. So this here, I think they can reduce the weight of the shoe and get a little bit more energy return from the HG, which they're calling sort of their upper end, more super foam.
Well, they've reported, like it's all internal reporting, there's a 95% energy return. And I think the Vaporfly was 87. Was that right? Something like that, Tom? You might know the stats, but this here is meant to be a bit more return than the Vaporfly. And it's a lot more resilient foam, and you hit the ground hard. It does feel like it bounces compared to the Pro 3, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. There's immediately when I put it on, there's a few, like the initial impression was, wow, the midfoot's got a strong wrap. So I feel the shape first, and you can see, let me just try to show it. But there's like a wrap here on the medial side and a wrap on the lateral side. And as you do the shoe up, it pulls that wrap tighter. And so it really wraps around your arch. Now, that's the first thing I felt. The heel cup, it's almost quite minimal, like a booty. So you can see there's just one little sort of plasticky kind of strap there, and then a booty. So no real cup at the back. So that's noticeable, and I was a little worried about that, but given that the shoe is so soft. But your foot actually sits down inside the cup, so you do get a cup, and it's just this foam that your foot sits down.
That sidewall you're talking about is the most stable sidewall they put into any super shoe, because the upper is really flimsy, as you said, but that sidewall keeps it so stable.
Yeah, it does. I didn't notice any kind of consequence to that heel cup at all.
This straight away makes me think anyone with a Hageland's deformity, the bony prominence on the back of the heel, maybe they're going to love this shoe.
Absolutely.
May irritate it less.
Yeah, agree.
Potentially.
One thing that I really like is tongue. So you can see it's just got all these perforations through it. Real old school setup. How do we save weight? We get rid of material. And so we cut little holes in. It's real stretchy. I didn't get any pressure from the top either.
How did you find the width? I found the forefoot width was pretty good in the shoe, to be honest.
Yeah, I went up to a 12. I think I'm going to be a 12 in most shoes from now on. I didn't find any type of pressure around the forefoot. 12 is a half size bigger than what I've traditionally worn, and it fit perfect. Underfoot, we can see it's gone the cutout style of like the Adidas shoe, and semi sort of column like New Balance. It's segmented, so you can see laterally there's a cutout here under the outside. I think the idea, weight saving again, we'll try to remove weight by doing that. You can see the plate through the cutout. Really stiff plate, really solid toe spring. So have a look at the shape up the toe there. So that kick, propulsive feeling, and underneath, really wide surface area under the forefoot. It feels like a bubble. It feels like a big bubble of foam sitting under the ball of the foot. Yeah, almost like a target area for you to hit, because that's where the joy is in the shoe. As you toe off, it's like they've looked at a force graph and gone, okay, where are we putting the most amount of force? Where can we increase our, energy return by taking advantage of more force going in? And it's underneath the ball of the foot here. It feels brilliant under there.
And I agree. I think at the end of the day, like I've always found that if I just hit the forefoot in the Vaporfly, like it does bottom out a little bit. And this one here is a bit more like the Alpha Fly. In fact, I can hit that area really hard. It responds really well. This shoe feels just a bit, I don't know, like a bit more life. It comes off the ground a bit quicker. And I think that's the toe spring response. It's really aggressive compared to the Alpha Fly.
Yeah.
How light is it compared to Alpha or Vaporfly?
Same as Vapor. So, well, it's 204 grams in a size 9. So that's pretty light. I think a Vapor is 195 or something.
Yeah.
But there's more shoe. Well, it feels like there's more shoe anyway.
Yeah.
I remember putting this on when we got shown samples 12 months ago now, something like that. And the first thought was, all right, the game changer. Like this is the best feeling super shoe I've put on. And so far it's up there. Like I need to do a few more workouts in it, but I've had some of the best workouts in years using this shoe at the moment. And I'm really excited about it. Not sure how far it'll go for me yet. Like I haven't tested it. I'll be wearing the Mizuno Rebellion in my marathon in 2 weeks. So I'm comfortable and confident in that shoe. Whether this one would replace it for the next marathon, I'm not sure, potentially.
So can I just ask, what is Saucony doing with the Pro 3 and Elite? So are these just now two lines that will coexist, or is, who's going to get an Elite over a Pro 3?
An Elite will feel more aggressive. I don't think it feels as stable as a Pro 3. I think a Pro 3 will be a little bit better for someone with a rear foot strike. That's like at the time when I saw them together, I thought, okay, super aggressive, maybe for someone aiming faster paces in their race, might not be out there for as long. But now I'm not sure. I think more people will end up in this, even in that slower pace bracket.
Yeah.
What do you think, Nita?
Yeah, look, it's a more responsive shoe, and some people are picking a shoe to have something really soft. I mean, the Pro 3 is responsive for what it is, but it actually feels probably quite enjoyable underfoot. You can run at slower paces. The only thing in this shoe is I don't think you can run that slow in it and really enjoy it. I think it responds to just hitting the ground a bit harder. So this will be a race day shoe. People who probably buy these shoes now, I remember I had a patient, Paul won't mind me mentioning this. He had 3 Pros. He had one for jogging, one for tempos, one for workouts, and one for races. And so that shoe he could do for everything. I think he's probably late 50s, early 60s, and the most protective shoe. Whereas I think people are buying the Pro to use it for day-to-day use as well. This shoe is not a day-to-day use shoe. It's a workout shoe. It's a race shoe. And look, you weren't buying the Alpha Fly for a day-to-day shoe, and you weren't buying the Vaporfly for a day-to-day shoe. So it's an interesting question, Tom. I'm not actually sure. Like I think categorically, I think your slower runner might, more recreational nature, probably pick a Pro 3 and get good outcomes. But like Julian said, because this shoe feels so good, it's so dynamic, people will just probably prefer the feeling of this if they want to run fast in it. So I don't know. I don't know how people are going to be able to demarcate those two shoes.
No, I think you're right. I think the Pro, I've often considered that I could jog in that and enjoy it. And do it as a long run, like what you do with the Supercomp Elite.
Spot on, yeah. I'm interested to see if New Balance decide to build a really high performing super shoe. Just categorically, I think their super shoe feels like it's a bit of a do it all type shoe. Very good shoe, like I love it, but I don't know if I'd ever pick it over a race over the other brands' super shoes.
All right, cool. Well, we don't have too long today, so I'm going to throw a quick one at you. Do you need to, like, for someone, and I'm going to do a podiatry one because that's like, they're the ones that I know come along quite often. But how often are you two prescribing minimal footwear for someone who may have knee or hip related issues?
You go, Nita.
Look, it's one of those strategies that you try and do if you failed with other interventions. So, for example, like we've got there are so many typical patellofemoral pain syndrome. We see it a lot more in novice populations. People are accumulating more volume than they have before for the first time. And look, the concept behind wearing a bit less shoe, why you're bringing it up, is that supposedly you won't hit the ground quite as hard. You won't have quite as much patellofemoral loading. You might not overstride quite as much. and supposedly wearing a more minimalistic shoe might load the ankle or the calf a bit more, so you'll distribute the load a bit differently. But there's a time and place for that. And I usually use that with people who have got, they're a bit more experienced in running. So for a period of time, their loads might be high, and they might be trying to keep their volume going, or they want their easy runs to be still in their weekly regime. And so sometimes a bit less shoe might be a strategy of reducing a bit of knee loading. But look, there are other strategies as well, like reducing running volume and increasing intensity, changing a few gait attributes temporarily to try and shift load. Those strategies probably sit above the footwear change, in my opinion. So look, I'm not doing it super often, but like I'm definitely doing it probably more than I'm giving someone a posted shoe to treat knee pain, if that makes sense. And I'm not actually using, not necessarily actually using just a minimal shoe. It might be reducing the pitch of the shoe, for example. Like Ultra might be a strategy to try and reduce the patellofemoral loading because there's less pitch to it, but yet there's a lot of shoe beneath the foot. So, and you feel like there's more ankle loading when you wear it, even like the Avia Olympus. I feel the ankle load without putting a pitch into the shoe. So it's not necessarily the minimalistic shoe. It's just trying to reduce pitch attributes, or trying to get someone to hit the ground a little bit or enter into the ground a bit differently to try and shift load somewhere else. So I'd say not as often as people talk about it.
Good.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't have a lot to add to that. I mean, that's pretty much how I would probably approach it. I guess being a podiatrist, I don't really see that as many knee or hip issues as foot and ankle issues. So I'm the other end of the spectrum, where it's a bit of a running joke now with people in Run Crew that they come to see me, they're getting a Mizuno Inspire or something like that. They're getting a stability shoe potentially because, I'm just recommending shoes to offload the foot and ankle. So it's always, that's just one piece, like the footwear advice. People will come to me a lot of the time because they do want my opinion on the shoes. So obviously I have to give that opinion on shoes. And if that's part of the management, and it often is, whether they've got the shoe already in the rotation, they should use it more, or whether it might be appropriate to go buy the shoe. And sometimes they buy the shoe for that particular injury, but then I suggest, look, it may be worth you continuing to have a stability model in your rotation. When and if this niggle or a similar one around the foot and ankle pops up again, you've got a stability shoe ready to go to roll out to see if it helps with something that's popping up back in the foot and ankle. But yeah, I'm the same with Nitter with the old school stability to help knee pain. I'd be more likely to recommend a lowered pitch or lower stack, more minimalist type shoe as opposed to a stability shoe for knee pain. And often the more minimal shoes are inherently more stable though anyway, because they're lower to the ground.
You mentioned a good point there. Like if someone might actually, who's experienced, might have a shoe in their current rotation they haven't been using that might be better for them to use for that block of time. So if it's in their rotation, like a lower profile shoe or a more minimalistic shoe they have on hand, you might trial that for the particular, knee loading injury they may have and add it into a higher dose of their week. And then once the knee pain resolves, you'll start gravitating back to the shoes that you enjoy a bit more so as well. But very rarely we're sending into, it's an economy thing as well, isn't it? So like, you're picking a shoe to try and change something temporarily, potentially. Someone's had real chronic knee problems and it's been ongoing for many, many years. And we think that is a bit more associated to just, having a lot of stack and pitch in a shoe. Perhaps maybe we can minimalize the shoe for that person. But often you're tweaking other things. You're preparing the body to changing their training characteristics. What about in shop for you, Julian? Like, are you seeing that now? People prescribing minimalistic shoes for knee pain, or?
Occasionally, yeah. You've got some that are quite tied to the theory and use it regularly. So we do see that happen like a bit, and we have some shoes that can account for it, but there aren't that many minimal shoes left. Like there's a couple of brands that do it, like what's that? Vivo Barefoot. They make proper minimal shoes. Ultra, obviously, but they're still like pretty cushioned. The Ultras, yeah, and so like even the Kinvaras that of the back in the day and the Pure Flows, the shoes that you could like use as that tool aren't really doing what they used to. They're all getting a bit more cushion.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we can like I certainly talk about it, but I'm hesitant because a lot of the time these customers, they're after a shoe that they'll hold on for a year, and they do a lot of things in it. So if someone comes in, they say, I've got a dicky knee, and I've been in a Brooks Ghost for, I don't know, the last 3 years, and then we start talking. They say, what I heard about Hockers. I heard they can help my knee, and so I'll sort of suggest, well, actually, less shoe will probably help your knee more, and then the conversation will go, all right, well, which are these less shoes, like which are the least amount of shoe that I can get. And so you kind of go down a pathway that maybe you didn't want to at the time. You're just using it as part of a discussion. And in the end, the best option is to go back to a Brooks Ghost, just a new one. Because
there's just so many variables. Like someone might get patellofemoral loading from wearing, a high stack shoe, and someone might get less patellofemoral loading wearing a high stack shoe if the pitch is low enough as well. It's still individual. Like to some extent, you almost need to like localize the characteristics for that individual's cause of the knee pain and make the assumption that, this person needs less pitch, this person needs less stack. And it's still, to some extent, a bit of a guess as to how they'll respond to it. So it's
all a guess.
Yeah, it's not foolproof, right? And maybe that Hoka, they put it on and they do have a good response because the pitch is a bit less, or they hit the ground a bit differently because they got different foam beneath their foot and they haven't had this before. I mean, we're about to see. I'm interested to see how much the Nimbus 25 changes people's perceptions. Like a lot of people haven't gone to high stack shoes who are very traditional buyers of footwear, and this shoe will just happen to be the bridging of the gap for some of that population. Then they'll feel this shoe, and then they'll gravitate to me where I can't tolerate a minimal shoe anymore because I don't wear them anymore, right? So, and I go back to them and they feel firm. So, like I'm trying to my plan in the winter at the end of the summer is to try and get into this. The Supercomp Pacer, so a little plated shoe, a bit stiff, low stack. And I put this on straight away. I feel my ankle and lower leg load. So I know that like I'm not prepared to handle this, but I need to add this in a little bit. So sometimes fixing someone's knee pain is just titrating in something that offloads the knee, whether it's a gait change, whether it's the shoe to help you do that, whether it's the surface modification. A lot of the time you're not trying to offload everything, right? You're not trying to offload every single run of the week. You might be trying to drop 20% of their load in that really heavy high stack shoe with a high pitch, and that might be the sweet spot that gets them into a happy zone of no pain. And then they keep using that shoe in their rotation. I mean, as part of sustainability is variation of running, intensity, variation of footwear, variation of terrain. I don't know how Tom runs on concrete every day. Like, it makes no sense to me. Like I
got lots of shoes to make. That's what my shoes are for.
Well, we did a city loop the other day in the city, and it's flat as a tack. And I haven't done that for years. And I found that really hard compared to running 500 meters through the hills for the same time frame of elevation, because it's just I'm not used to the same impact every single time. And I know you guys are both marathon runners, so that's part of like the strategy. You need to be able to handle the same stress over and over again. That's at a point in time. And I just can't do that. So
it's just what you're used to. You grew up in the country, didn't you? So
all dirt. So I
grew up on the roads. That's what I know. And so when I venture out to the trail, I feel like I'm. What do I feel like? I feel like I'm a duck out of water. Like I'm clumsy, and I'm actually not good on the trails. It's nice being out there, but
that's embarrassing for everyone you beat in the 6 foot trail. What's that? 6 foot trail?
I fell. I smacked it in the. I had a bad fall in that race. I'm more worried about like an ankle sprain than repetitive overuse type injury on the road. To be honest,
we went for that one run. Remember we took you off trail a little bit. We were in Queensland. You rolled your ankle on that damn tree trunk that was like 9 foot. You couldn't miss it. I don't know how you rolled your ankle.
No, trails and me do not mix well. So,
all right. What are you guys wearing at Bathurst? So you're not running, are you, Julian? You're going to have this weekend off, aren't you?
Yeah, well, I'm going to do a workout. I'm going to take this up. Going to do a workout maybe on the Friday. Just less risk for me. And I'm looking forward to it.
Just going to do a workout on the outside of the course while the golden ticket race is going on.
Yeah, I'll be doing a workout on the Saturday, racing around the course, I reckon, going to different spots.
Really upset with the non-mention in the golden ticket race, so he's just refusing to run it now.
I'm putting my foot down as a bullshit concept anyway. And Tom only flogs who win the ticket will actually compete in the main race.
Yeah, as I told you, I don't care if I get a ticket. I think I'll run.
Of course you will. Of course you will.
Yeah. I think it's okay. I'm not there. I don't think I've made the World Championships or anything. I just think it'll be fun.
No, you've never made the World Championships. Only one of us here.
I made the World Half Marathon Championships. Come on, it's way better than a really weak World Championship marathon that was in like a country that no one wanted to go to.
You boys should both be running the Masters, boys. You guys should start admitting your age. You should both be running the Masters.
Can you imagine the bullshit on Monday when Nitter's sending through? He came fucking 8th in the world. And, I'm gonna have to mute you.
Yeah, nah, it's
professional age group athlete / age group coach. Nitter is.
See my hairline.
Has no athletes and doesn't compete in open himself.
Good. No, it should be good. I'm looking forward to catching up with you guys, only on a slight basis as well. But you got Ellie running as well, Julie. You must be pumped. She must have...
Oh yeah, so she just got some spikes today. So I contacted Danny Orr from New Balance. Said anything floating around the cutting floor that maybe she could get her hands on. And so she just sent me a picture while we were recording of these spikes. So New Balance, I'm not sure what they are, but they've got like a rubber tread. It looks like the LD midsole. It's got 5 pins, but the tread looks super grippy. It looks really cool.
It's not the Sydney McLaughlin shoe, is it?
I'll have to show you in the I'll show you in the group chat.
That sounds good. All right, I'm excited for it. All right, enjoy. Tell me you got to get the ice vest on if you're doing back-to-back days, mate.
Oh yeah, Gary's got the ice vest already.
I've seen that.
I was thinking of sourcing that Saucony spike. Maybe running out.
That'd be perfect for this. You mean the cheetah? The cheetah?
No, the terminal.
Oh yeah.
One of the two.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Are they on,
the terminal is like, I think they're available now, aren't they, Julian?
I didn't get the terminal, but yeah, I'm not sure what the go is there. I thought I ordered it. Hasn't shown up.
No,
yet.
It's the same foam as in the that's in the Elite.
Yeah.
So it's the
HG.
HG. I thought I ordered that. I don't know if it's available yet. Maybe it is.
25 mil stack, so it's up to its the full legal limit. However, it's really light. I don't know how they got it so light, but it's
mate. If they've done it the same way as the Elite, I can see how they got it light. They use the same upper probably materials. The midsole foam's so resilient, but it's light as anything. They've nailed this. I think. I don't want to jinx it, but they've definitely done a good job with the combination.
Yeah, cool.
Oh well, right. I'll see you guys on Friday.
Catch you then.
See you there.
Done. All right. Bye.